Welcome to You Can Do It. Today in this episode, we're going to be installing a Moen Lindor faucet set. We're going to do the hoses and we're going to show you how to hook the drain up as well. So let's get started. Alright, let's open this up and see what we got here. Here's our instructions. Those off to the side. And we'll just lay this over here. Put all of our valves on it. So there's a nice heavy duty faucet. The valve here, the valve handles. These are nice and heavy duty. They're not like cheap plastic. Got some tools here we're probably going to need. Something. The model number sticker. Got the drain tube, it's a pop-up drain. Got some hoses that it comes with, more tools. The lock nuts, and the valves are underneath here. So the brass valves are in the bottom. Alright. So we have the faucet here. There's a red cap on the line here. We want to remove this. Take that off. And then we're going to go ahead. It has a rubber gasket right here. It's like a foam rubber gasket. We're going to go ahead and apply this down into the hole here. It is kind of top heavy, so you're probably going to have a couple hands on this. You're going to need this bolt here, or it's a nut, and it's going to slide up over this threaded rod right here. And you're going to have this plate, which when you get underneath there, the plate will slide up on the rod up tight to the granite or whatever your countertop is, and then you'll put the nut on there like so. Then the nut will tighten up, and they give you this tool here. So when you're underneath there and you're behind your sink, you'll stick this guy up there. It's like a nut driver, and just snug it right up to the bottom of the granite or your countertop. So I'm going to go ahead and do that underneath there, and we'll proceed to the next step. Alright, so I just have it snug right now so I can move it left to right, forward and backwards. I have it pulled forward all the way. These holes are drilled pretty good size. So especially for here, this one here, these guys are going to take up, there's not much play in it, but however this one here, you can move it forward quite a bit. I'm pulling it forward so when you wash your hands, you're not washing them way back here. It's actually right in the center of the sink. So I've got that pulled forward. I've measured from left to right on the holes to make sure that the faucet is dead center over the sink and the drain. And as I do that, I'm going to take this tool, this nut driver, and I'm going to go underneath and I'm going to tighten it up now to where it's permanently installed. So we're going to go ahead and install the valves now. This is the hot. The hot will be on your left, and then your cold on the right. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of these brass nuts. You're going to screw that on. Run it down, probably around that area. We'll adjust the height. You want to keep them relatively the same on the hot and cold so you don't have one higher than the other. Then you're going to take a square washer and drop that on it. And so now this is going to go underneath and you're going to bring it up through the hole. And then once you do that, once this is sticking up through, you're going to take a round washer, drop that down like so. I'm just showing you kind of how this setup goes, and then you take one of these open C clips, and there's a void right here in the threads. This guy is going to go right in there, and then you're going to tighten the nut up to this washer underneath. So it'll be kind of loose until you tighten the nut. And when you tighten it, when you tighten the valve to the sink, the directions are showing that you have this brass pipe aimed in towards your faucet, and the other one will too. And the reason being is for the hoses here to hook up. So that's how they want you to do it. So we're going to go ahead and put this guy in down below. So there's that one. Take the cold. Same thing. Brass nut goes on. Square washer. Go ahead and put that one in on the cold side. Washer and the C retaining clip. Alright, now you'll want to go underneath and snug them up. So as you can see, both of the spout shanks are aimed facing the faucet area. Okay, so there was some play in the holes there on the valve. So before we tighten them up, just wanted to make sure it's 1 3/4 from the washer to the edge of the sink, and it's 1 3/4. So they're both perfectly in line, and the spacing is perfect. So when we go to put the valves on, one's not going to be set further back than the other. Alright, so we're going to install the hoses. So basically, I just drew this little photo here. This guy here, you're going to want it facing forward. This black piece here, you want that to be facing you so you can see that. And then that's the back. So you're going to have the hose like this. This piece is going to go up into the faucet. And when you push this up in, you'll see this little rib on the spout. It'll click into that and you'll hear a clicking noise. Now this hose here, you're not going to attach it to the hot. This one's, it has kind of a natural bend to it. It's going to come all the way over here to the cold, and same thing with the hot. The hot will come on over and it's going to hook up to the hot. So that's pretty much how it's going to go underneath. It's a little tight underneath there, so I decided to just kind of draw you a photo so you can see how it hooks up. As you can see, the centerpiece is connected to the faucet downspout, and then the both left and right hoses, they curve. One goes to the cold, the other one goes to the hot. They snapped in place. It was a solid fit, nice and tight. So you may have to move your valves a little bit to the left or right, so the spouts on the hot and cold are kind of offset a little bit, so you can give yourself some room to install the supply lines coming into the valves. So we're going to go ahead and install the supply lines now. So we're going to go ahead and install the supply lines. We picked these up at Home Depot. These hoses do not come with the Moen faucet, so this will be something you'll have to buy separate. Depending on, as you can see, I've got 2 different lengths. So my cold is like 6 inches higher than the hot, and that's probably why they don't give you the hoses, because some plumbing is in a different location. You need to get longer hoses. So like I said, these hoses do not come. You got to buy them separate. These hoses, what you'll need here, what I'm using is a 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch side goes to the faucet, and that'll be standard for you. However, your supply line could be different. Mine's a 3/8, It's a 3/8 compression. These hoses have rubber gaskets in them. You don't have to use Teflon tape on the threads of the actual valve and the faucet. You just tighten this down and this rubber cone will actually seat and seal properly. And you won't have any leaks if you do it right. If you want to use Teflon tape, you can, but we're going to go ahead and install these hoses without it. So the supply lines are installed. It wasn't too bad tightening the 1/2 inch part up there to the valve, but I would recommend you could install the hose to the valve before you put the valve up through the sink top. It'll make it a little easier for you getting a wrench up in there. Depending on how big your sink bowl is, you may not have the room, so you might want to install the hose first. Okay, so we're going to install the valve handles, and what we're going to do here, there's a plastic red tube up here. You're going to turn this clockwise until it stops. There it is. And then the cold, you're going to go counterclockwise till it stops. And there you go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and install this on there. Just slides right on. Just feel it or move it around till it slides right over the top. And then you're going to screw this guy on down until it stops. Might be able to get one more turn. There we go. So that's pretty tight. Same thing with this one. Slide it on down. There we go. We have a rag. We're going to go down here. We're just going to wipe it, make sure there's no debris before we install this pop-up drain. You want the gasket to sit nice and tight against the bowl. If it's not, you'll have leaks. So we're just going to prep it, clean it, make sure it's nice and clean. There's no tape down there or anything. So we've got that cleared out. Same with the bottom. Just want to make sure that there's no sharp edges. All right, so we've got the pop-up drain. So we're gonna unscrew the nut on the bottom, and then this cone gasket, we'll place that there, and then there's a gasket up on the top there, and you want to make sure your air gap here lines up with the air gap on the sink. We're going to slide that on down right into place there, and then go up underneath. We'll put the rubber gasket on first and then the nut. So we're underneath here. I've got this nut up against the rubber cone, and I'm going to just tighten this up. You want to make sure you hold the pipe so the air gap stays lined up to the sink bowl. So I'm tightening this up. You don't need to really use any tools on this because it is plastic. So you're just going to crank that thing up with your hand until it's nice and tight. And the nice thing about that cone, it goes up inside there and it makes a perfect seal around there. So we're going to go ahead and install the pop-up drain assembly. So here's the pop-up drain assembly. It comes just like this. It's all assembled, ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and just slide it right on down. And that's it. All right, now we're going to go ahead on installing the drain. So we're using a Snappy Trap. This system comes with every part that you need. You'll have leftover parts. It makes life easy depending on where your drain lines up with your sink. They give you so many different options in here. It literally saves you from going to the hardware store 3 or 4 times because you forgot this part, that part. So I've got this all laid out. I already know what we're going to use, but they give you all these different fittings, step-down fittings. They give you hose clamps, you name it. Everything's in here to pretty much install this thing. I haven't had to go and buy any extra parts by going with this setup. So we're going to go ahead and put this thing together and turn on the water and test the sink. So these are all the different parts they give you for the P-trap. They give you 2 different size wall slip tubes here. They give you a short one and then a long one. Depending on how close you are to the wall. If your vanity's, if it doesn't come off the wall very far, you'll use this guy. But if you don't need that, you use the long one and discard that. So we're going to go with the longer one. They give you these color-coded rubber gasket rings here. You'll install the orange one for 1.25 inches. The blue ones are for 1.5 inches. So they pretty much outdo everything. They give you all the parts you need. So you want to slide the slip locking ring here on first, and then your gasket. And same thing on this end here, but this one's already fixed. It comes from the factory already installed. So this is going to go into the wall this direction, and then we're going to have the P-trap here, which goes like that. We're just going to kind of hand tighten these guys. We're not going to put them on real tight so we can move things around. And then we've got this guy here. This is going to go up onto the slide adjustable pipe that goes into the pop-up drain assembly. And the pop-up drain assembly, it's got a slightly smaller pipe. They give you a blue washer, this small washer here. This, you're going to put your lock nut up there first, and then you'll install the rubber washer. And you want to shove that up there a ways so you can adjust the pipe accordingly. And so we're going to install this. We're going to push that up as far as we can. Get that up there. We'll stick this in the wall from down below. So you just want everything hand tight so you can just kind of move it around. We'll bring this down. You want to bring it in there a little ways, about 1.5 inches or so. We're just going to kind of hand tight everything up until it all looks good here. You just want to make sure that the rubber O-rings are seated properly. And in this case, this one fell down. Just make sure when you put your pipes together that you pull the nut back. Make sure everything's seated nice and tight. Nothing's going to get snagged and get pinched. And make sure you don't cross thread your plastic nut on there, because it won't work if you do that. So everything's kind of hand tight at the moment. And once you know that that's where it's going to go, then you can tighten everything down with your hand. Just make sure you go through every joint, make sure they're all tight. Go back through them. You didn't forget to tighten one. Now I'm going to have to go underneath there and get that back one. there you go. We're all tightened down. It's nice and straight. And we didn't have to go to the hardware store and buy any additional parts. They gave us everything that we needed to make this installation complete. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the water and test the faucet and check for leaks. We'll just go ahead and crack these out a little bit just to let some air out. And there you go, folks. Completed, no leaks, and we're all set. So thanks for watching, and remember, you can do this. Thank you.